Hello, my name is Raymond Brown, and I welcome you to rptv News. Today, we delve into the recent strategic planning meeting where critical decisions were made about the future of the SDP. From a heated debate over a long-awaited logo to urgent pleas for city fundings, the community leaders and residents came together in a pivotal discussion aimed at shaping the path forward for this vital initiative. Now let's go to the video for the full story of these developments and what they mean for your community.
Welcome, Rabia. Welcome, Ines. Welcome, Michael. Welcome, Rashida, Adonis, Elena, Ishmael. I think we have about 9 folks or 8 folks in the meeting so far. So my name is Walied Kjogali Ali. I'm going to be facilitating our meeting today. Can I ask a member of the planning committee to read the purpose of the planning committee, please? Would like to volunteer?
I can do that if there is no one.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, meeting date May 16, 2024, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Purpose of the planning committee. The committee makes a recommendation to the SDP Stakeholders Table on a strategic direction and action priorities, intercommitment alignments, coordination, stakeholders, and resident engagement by supporting the SDP Stakeholder Table to ensure that the meetings are effective, supporting the 4 work groups to be prepared to report at the SDP Stakeholder Table meetings, address requirements and/or requests that need a quick response, identifying information and/or expertise that the stakeholder required in order to make a sound and informed decision, develop facilitations approaches that increase the capacity of all stakeholders to engage in a decision and a decision making.
Thank you so much,
You're
Elena.
welcome.
So we're now going to approve the agenda, but before we do, I just have one addition to the agenda to make, which is announcements after next facilitator, so that we could just get the announcements out of the way. So before we get to the SDP meeting follow-up. So just a quick announcements, okay? So that's the one addition. Does anyone else want to recommend an addition to the agenda before we approve the agenda? I see no hands up and I see people shaking no. So I think folks are
I'm
comfortable.
sorry, but just I would like to say a small things when I read all the agenda. Normally this agenda is online, but I have just a suggestion. I'm not sure how it goes with the other people's because some of them are working and I understand that. If sometimes we can meet in person, it would be much better and effective to rectify all the challenges and how the program it goes away and the programming that we have to do and all the assignment with the others. In a face-to-face meeting, we can approach better, and I think it would be more effective. That's a point just I would like to add. Thank you.
Elena, I understand your point. Thank you so much. You will prefer if we could meet in person. So that's something
Absolutely.
that maybe we could discuss because we've just had this discussion in the past, but since you're new to the planning committee, I think it's important for us to discuss it one more time and move
Thank
forward.
you.
Thank you, Elena, for your suggestion. So seeing no amendments to the agenda, Kalai, I'm going to ask if there's anyone opposed to the approval of the agenda. Any opposition? And the agenda is as follows. Let me just quickly read it, and then I'll go to Michael next. So today we are going to discuss the April 25th strategic meeting follow-up. Then we're going to talk about the SDP logo, a proposal by Adonis. Then we're going to have an update on strat planning, which we will also discuss. So those are the agenda items. Michael, you can go next.
So I know that people thought we could defer discussing Councillor Moisey, but I just got shown something by Dimitri about what he said during the interview. So I think we should put that on an agenda sometime, and not
Michael,
keep deferring
it's
it.
on the agenda.
No, it
It's on
doesn't
the
have to be today, but just I
Michael,
don't necessarily think it'd be a good idea at this point to wait until the strategic plan is
Michael, are you
finished.
hearing me? Michael,
Yeah.
are you hearing what I'm saying? It's on
Yes.
the agenda. It's on the
Oh,
agenda.
you did. We did put it on.
It's on the
Okay.
agenda. Yes. So you shouldn't worry about that. Okay. Okay. So again, I'm gonna ask if there's any opposition to the agenda items or any recommendations for changes. Adonis, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not clear. What's on the agenda?
So there's any updates on city staff and councillor meetings? It's right there. So if
Okay.
I think
All
it's
right.
the same item.
All on my
Okay.
end.
Okay, any other changes to the agenda? Okay, any opposition? First call, second call, third call. It seems everyone is in support of the agenda items, so the agenda has been approved. Okay, we're now going to move on to the next item, which is proposal for agenda items. I just want to remind everyone, if you have any proposals, we have a parking lot that you could add those items. So it's discussed at the agenda planning committee, agenda planning group, so that we are ready for action at planning committee. I'm gonna now pass it to Ismail to talk about the upcoming the next facilitator. Go ahead, Ismail.
Thank you. So, as we all know, there is an email circulating asking for facilitators. And Alana, thank you. You responded to it. Waleed, Adonis, and Michael have expressed interest in that as well. So I'm just asking if we can have more people express interest in facilitating. And if we don't have more people, are we okay with just whoever volunteers, or maybe we can strategize about it afterwards? I would like to ask if there's anyone in this group who's willing to facilitate the next planning committee meeting, which will be next week's is strategic planning, so the week after. Just pulling up the calendar. So May 30th at 1 o'clock. Is there anyone in this group that's willing to facilitate that meeting? May 30th, 1 p.m.
Well, I would like to know, because I have never facilitated. What could be the steps? Could you just a little bit explain, for the facilitating,
Sure.
group? Yes, how it could go. Thank you.
Elena, I think if you are interested, you could put your name forward for the next planning meeting and you can practice,
Okay.
because we're trying to build capacity in residents or members of the planning committee, and facilitating, just going through the agenda, identifying speakers who put their hand up, and making sure that we follow our terms of reference. So that's the responsibility of a facilitator. And you can get a copy of our terms of reference from Ishmael, so that you can review it before the meeting. But if you're interested in the next meeting, please put your name forward.
Perfect. Yes, I would like. You can just add my name too. Thank you very much for the 30th at 1 p.m. For sure. Thank you. Thank you, Waleed.
Thank you very much, Elena. Okay,
You're
so we have a
welcome.
facilitator for the next meeting. So the next item on the agenda, and by the way, if anyone's interested in future meetings, please, communicate your interest. We'd love for folks to facilitate our meetings. The next item is any updates on city staff and councillor meetings. So Michael, I know you wanted to express yourself on this item, so please go ahead. Okay, I guess Michael is preoccupied. So I have no updates on any meetings with city staff and councillors related to the SDP, but we did have a letter that's going out on behalf of the stakeholders table, which will hopefully be sent out tomorrow. Thanks to Adonis and Shea for the feedback on the letter. Hope I got her name right, from Dixon Hall.
Sure.
So that's Share, yes, Share. So thanks for that amazing feedback. Okay, we're going to now move on to announcements. So I have a quick announcement to make. So I just wanted to let you know that Gail Lynch was appointed by the Board of Directors of the Regent Park Neighborhood Association as the SDP Market Co-Chair. So let's all welcome Gail in that new role. So welcome Gail in that new role as one of my fellow SDP co-chairs, and please congratulate Gail when you have an opportunity to do so.
Yes, congratulations, Gail, if you are hearing.
Yeah, thanks. So temporary position. I didn't even know this is supposed to be an announcement, but this is a temporary position. Temporary. Right? Elections are coming for RPNA. This is temporary. Can I repeat that again? Temporary. Yes. So, and you made a comment about the letter, and I think again last meeting, and Ismail is here. He has the notes because we had asked for this to be brought back to the planning table so that we can review the contents. And I think we should respect those wishes. Yeah.
So
I think Inez is the other co-chair, I believe. I'm not sure what input she had, but I think we should bring it back. I'd certainly like to see that letter.
Okay, I'll pass it on to Adonis because we did make a decision as a planning committee. So, and it is in the notes. So Adonis, go ahead.
Ismail, the notes, you could confirm that the planning committee gave it to a subcommittee led by Walied, in which I volunteered as well as Sherry volunteered to review the letter. And it did go out to, I believe, the Inez had seen the letter as well and had put a feedback to it. So but what's your notes say, Ismail, in terms of the minutes relating to the letter?
Yep, I'm looking for the notes about the letter right now, and I will put it on the screen once I find it.
No, not the letter itself. No,
Right,
please.
no, the decision around the letter.
The
I'm
minutes.
looking at the notes, our planning committee notes,
Yes,
and I'll put them on the screen as soon as I find it.
great.
Okay, thanks, Adonis. So we'll have closure on that discussion as soon as Ishmael shares that on the screen. And then Ishmael, after you do so, please lead us through the conversation on the strategic planning. Okay. And then I have Ines next after you do that.
So the letter that you sent, that you're gonna send it to Gail. Congratulations, Gail.
Yes, Ines, the copy of a letter will be sent to Gail as well, correct?
What's going on? I'm not hearing anything.
Michael, we called your name several times and you didn't respond. You wanted to talk about an update related to meetings with city staff or the councillor when it comes to the SDP. But before, do you want to still speak to that item?
Okay.
Wait. Before
So
you do,
it's not like maybe
sorry,
we shouldn't do
Michael.
it.
Michael, please pay attention. So before you do, let Ishmael just share something on the screen, and then we'll go to you, and then we'll go to the SDP strategic planning item. Okay.
So in terms of notes about the letter, there's only one note about the letter from last week, where it reads that Walied suggests members of the communities expressed fascination of SDP work of Regent Park and willingness to write a letter of support from those people. That's what we have about the letter. I don't see anything else in last week's notes about the letter.
Okay, so my recollection of the last SDP planning committee and others was that Adonis volunteered and Cher also showed interest, and so that's sort of my understanding of what happened at the meeting. So hopefully it could be put in the notes so it's accurate. I think that's also an understanding of other members of the planning committee. Okay. So we'll now take it on to Michael. Michael, you can speak to that item if you like. But before you do so, I've got Gail who wants to speak on this item. So go ahead, Gail.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we have a conclusion per se to this, because I think we may be talking about two different meetings. I think there was one meeting where, yes, you were going to go off and you were going to confer with the communication specialist from Dixon Hall. And then we would see that. I don't think the decision was confer with Dixon Hall, whatever you come up with, that's what you send off. And I think what I'm hearing from you folks now is that you sent it off. In the last meeting we were in,
It wasn't sent
which
off.
was, oh, okay,
No,
but that's good to know.
no,
But I
it
think
wasn't.
we, mhm.
Yeah,
Go
so I
ahead.
just want to clarify, Gail. A draft was shared. We had input from Cher from Dixon Hall. We had input from Adonis as one of the co-chairs of the communications working group. Ines also had copies of this. You are not the SDP co-chair then. I am I'm willing to share. I'm comfortable with sharing that letter with you so you can review it as well. But the goal is to send it out tomorrow. So we put a deadline of today for input on the letter, and then it'll be sent out tomorrow. Oh, here it is. Sent by the admin. Okay, and so if we want to expedite with this, I don't mind sharing the letter with the planning committee right now so we can get approval and then moving forward. But I'll pass it on to Adonis and then we can decide how to best proceed. Go ahead, Adonis.
Yeah, my recollection was the same, that we agreed that Walied would take the lead on it and then be reviewed by myself and Sherry. That's my recollection, that we were going to empower Walied to do that in the subcommittee. If we're going to share the letter, can we do it at the end of the meeting so that we don't take away from this part of the agenda? I don't mind sharing a letter. I just think that it doesn't make sense to me to keep going back and forth and have a conversation about this. And that I agree with your amendment. If anybody wants to see the letter, you could forward it out to them.
Okay, thank you, Adonis. So the request is to share the letter at the end of the meeting. I'm comfortable with that. Are you comfortable with that, Gail, and other members of the planning committee?
Good to go. I simply ask though that we have Ismail, if you can add a meeting, a topic or agenda around the meeting minutes, because if we have meeting minutes, but then folks can come on and say, well, that's not what I recall, then we may as well not take minutes. So I think we just need to have some validation on that.
Good suggestion, Gail. And that's why I'm hoping we could also record our meetings just in case we need to remind ourselves of the action items that came out of the meeting. Okay, so I think we have consensus that we will share the letter at the end of the meeting. Thanks everyone for your feedback. We're now going to go to the strategic planning discussion. So I'm going to pass it on to Ismail. Ismail, please lead us through this conversation. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, sorry, my apologies. I made a mistake. I'm not perfect. Michael, you wanted to talk about updates on city staff and council meetings, so you have the floor, and then we'll move on.
Okay, so yeah, so the update item is on the agenda, and actually at this time I have a tiny update, but really the idea was that we needed a strategy discussion about it, so I think that should be on a future agenda. But the last time we talked about this, there was some thought that, oh, we didn't need to do that soon. It could be after the strategic plan. And I would advocate for doing it like a couple of weeks from now so that we're not actually going to go for a long period of time without having had a strategy discussion. And the reason for me bringing that back is, I mean, other people may already know about this, but I just saw part of that video from Chris Moyes where he was talking about the SDP and the funding. So I think it's maybe best that we do have a strategy discussion before too long. So I would like to advocate that it does go on the agenda within the next month or so.
Okay.
And Chris Moy seems to think that the 5-year funding and the SDP itself are one and the same, and obviously that's just as a basic level. Yeah, I don't see it that way. I don't know what other people think, but the 5-year funding was just a piece of funding for the SDP. It's not the whole of the SDP. So that's just one example of why I think we do need a strategy discussion.
Okay, good points, Michael. Okay, thanks, Michael, for sharing that. We'll make sure to put that on the radar for future meetings. Adonis, go ahead.
I also think that, yeah, we could have a strategy around that, but I also think that we need to get City Moise's opinion and feedback as one of the stakeholders for the strategic planning anyways. So a conversation has to be had with Chris Moise, not so much to advocate, but just to get his feedback about the SDP and what changes he might want to suggest or what he thinks about it. So part of so I would say that will be a discussion that should be had at the strategic planning committee.
Well said, Adonis. That's a really very, very insightful suggestion. Counselor is one of those stakeholders. So thank you so much for that reminder. Okay, so we've just finished this item. So I'm gonna now pass it on to Ismail to lead us through the strategic planning meeting follow-up and the items that were discussed by the committee. Go ahead.
Thank you. So we talked about a debrief before. I just didn't get a chance to share any of my input, and I thought I would since I did that before as well. And there was some new findings to me, at least, from this meeting. So first off, I would, again, thank you, everyone. Sure, I did it before, but thank you, everyone, for all your support. Thank you for attending. Thank you for participating in the activity. Donis, thank you, your team, for putting everything together, the hybrid support and everything. In terms of feedback, so more about my thorns. I already talked about my roses, but what I thought certain members were having trouble with was speaking on what they were supposed to speak on and sort of like what was decided upon. I think if all of us did that, because we do prepare for items when we know we're going to be called up on in front of the microphone, we're going to be asked to present on a certain topic, or we're being asked to present something to the group. You prepare for that, right? But having prepared for that, once you're up there and you're in the spotlight, sometimes you feel like you want to say more or talk about something else, maybe someone else something that someone else has presented. But I'm just asking members to refrain from that if it's not necessary. Obviously, if someone has a question or if you have your own opinion, do add input to that. We want to hear your voice, but please let members who will be presenting that specific item speak on that specific item. There was something about evaluations that another member of the group was sharing, and I feel like at least within the evaluations, because other committee members were looking at me in confusion, like, oh, did we decide on that as a committee? Did we say that we were going to mention that, or is that even true? So I'm just asking that we please stick to the script. Sorry, that comes off a lot worse than I wanted it to, but again, just stick to the script. Active members of SDP. Well, another thing, I wanted the group here to decide what the active member of SDP is. So if you remember, we presented the voting instructions, and in the voting instructions, it said active member. And I think we had a couple questions in the audience about, what that actually means. And I'm not sure where that's defined, but I think it'd be important for us to be all familiar with it. So if anyone does have questions, we can talk about that. It might be in the terms of reference now that I think about it, but for future meetings, I think anytime that comes up along with the voting instructions, we should also define what the active member is. And another thing, so my last point is what the group as a planning committee or the stakeholders table, what we would want to do with regards to misbehavior. I think the facilitators did a great job at handling it, but I'm just not sure if we have any formal guidelines on how to deal with misbehavior during a meeting. Speaking out of turn, disrespect, things like that. So I just wanted to ask the group that. So these are just things I'm asking that we keep in mind. If it's okay, I'm gonna add this to the parking lot for a future discussion. Elena, I do see your hand. I wanted to share one thing that I heard from a community member that was there. A community member mentioned that this is not their first time attending a meeting, that they actually joined planning committee meetings in the past. But because of what happened at the stakeholders table meeting, they just didn't feel comfortable enjoying the SDP as a whole. And they explicitly said that. They said, it's because of this, I don't come to SDP meetings and I don't want to join. So just something to be mindful of. But that's it. Thank you for listening to me. Elena, I believe you have something to speak on this item, so I'll let you speak before I move on to the expenses.
Yes, thank you very much. It was very lovely. Well, regarding misbehaving, I'm not sure that you want to, put it in the next, agenda and the meeting to discuss, or can I, just give my points right now?
I think if we can save it for the future meeting when we actually talk about this, I think that'll be
Perfect.
best.
Thank you.
So the next item I have over here is a list of expenses. So again, for the sake of transparency, I just wanted to show everyone what our expenses for that meeting was. And so first we had the child minding. So we had 2 child minders, $20 an hour, 3 hours each. So that was $120, plus some art supplies that Stella, who was supporting the child minders, had purchased for $18. And then we have the invoice. I'm just going to go ahead and show everyone the invoice. And thank you to Focus for paying for this. We're going to work to make sure that it gets reimbursed. So we have the catering, we have the empanadas, we have sugar, milk, and cream, we have water, food. So yeah, the expenses was mostly about the food. And of course, the child minding expenses were separate. The total came up to $978 plus the 148, no, plus about $130 for child minding. So we were within budget. So thank you everyone for helping out with that. My question to the group, and who do I bill this to? Should I just send it to Boys and Girls Club? So Milvia Boys and Girls Club like we used to in the past? Or because this was a special approval by Richard, do I contact him and ask him about that?
That's a good question. Marshida, do you have an answer for Ismail?
Yeah, I think so, because when I spoke to Gary the other day, I saw him and he said the invoice haven't came. So I'm thinking you're supposed to invoice to the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, thank you, Marshida. Ines, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the Boys and Girls Club, the invoice.
Thank you, Ines. Okay, you have your answer, Ishmael?
Yes,
so
thank you.
Proceed with contacting our good friend, Greg. Okay, go ahead.
And so the final piece for my item is the input. So we didn't get a chance to look at the input that we gathered. So if you remember at the stakeholders table meeting towards the end, we had the activity with the stickers. And so with Michael's help, I have this on a spreadsheet now. So if you remember the questions that we were asking, we had a list of accomplishments that each of the working groups established or that they completed or were working on. And so we had which accomplishments are you aware of? Which do you feel were most successful and should continue? Which do you feel needed improvement? And which do you feel was unsuccessful? And so I have it here divided by or separated by working groups. So for example, for safety, we have each column is a different accomplishment. So monthly meetings, we had 5 people say that they feel that it's most successful and that it should continue. 2 people thought that it needs improvement. 1 person thought that it was unsuccessful. I will say that some people, it seemed like some of the participants were confused with familiar and unfamiliar. So the the one that over here that says that they thought it was unsuccessful, it could just be someone saying that they're just unfamiliar with the monthly meetings. So I don't want anyone to take these reds to heart. It's just something to be aware of. Annual safety barbecue, youth empowering youth, quarterly presentations by Toronto Police Services, training courses, and same thing. Blue, green, yellow, and red. Communication. So I'm just going to read out the accomplishments. And then I think everyone kind of gets the points with regards to color. If we have any questions about colors, please do ask. For communications, we had the newsletter, the rptv weekly news on YouTube. We have the Hello Neighbor app, the tech library, the publications that come out of the stakeholders table, such as the special editions of Catch the Flavor. We have employment of RP residents to content creation. This is talking about the focus staff that we have, the Regent Park residents, and we have that here as well. Community buildings accomplishments, monthly meetings, Sunday in the Park, community space needs report, which I think gets done through access to rec, access to spaces projects, support for the UN Habitat Pavilion, support for Black History Month celebration. Although we have 3 people that said that it needs improvements. Okay, that's something for Joel to take back, which I think Joel, community building is actually already acting upon this. They already asked for this spreadsheet so they can discuss it in their group. So I think Rabia is still here. Thank you, Rabia, for doing that. And lastly, support for food security initiatives. For EED, we have the workforce integrator, we have the night market, we have the learning series, we have RP Cafe, and the notes over here that we had. So Ismail Afro was nice enough to come in person and support with this. And as we can see, there was so many responses over here for the EED and for community building. Like we had 14 people say, you know, Sunday in the Park was successful. Anyways, back to EED. Other suggested activities was local hiring, but I think workforce integrator kind of touches on that. Training for all ages, skills for entrepreneurship, including culinary. So I think EED already does entrepreneurship. Maybe this could just be a nudge about getting the narrative out there. And then including culinary, I'm not sure if that's something new that you'll be exploring. I'm sure you already do some sort of culinary through RP Cafe. Job postings for all ages, beginning computers, more learning series, job placement for people with no experience, training and hiring. So this is a note that I just typed up as I saw. I didn't know how to make sense of this. City of Toronto high five. So I'm not sure if that was just City of Toronto, if they were still there, because I do think that they might have left at that point. But if City of Toronto is still there, maybe they're just congratulating EED. I'm not sure. It wasn't signed by anyone, but I'm just putting that there.
I couldn't exactly tell what it meant either. I thought it was referring to high five. It said high fi or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it meant.
Can
I
I
think they have
explain
a
it?
program called High Five, but I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, can I explain it, what it is exactly?
Yes, Elena, go ahead.
Yes, that's a program. Normally, it's for the people that they are a job seeker, especially through the city, and they have to, you know, and they are going for the, for example, the childcare or whatever it is related to the childcare, and there are some certain training related to that. That is called as a high five. So that's the thing. Just the University of the Toronto, you know, they ask for that, not the other, for example, positions, because some of the residents that they came and asked me, what is that? And they want to, you know, approach to that if there is any training for that. I said, I'm not sure for the training, you know, through us, but that's a requirement to get the job through the city, those people that they want to work in the city in a specific fields. That's the reason that we put it. And we said, okay, in future, if we can provide such a things for the residents, it would be good. That's the things. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena, for clarifying that.
You're
So
welcome.
before I end this item, so everyone has access to this now. This has been on the agenda for the last 2 meetings, actually. So please get comfortable with this within your own working groups. Please visit this. And I know strategic planning is planning on looking at this and using this as the input to their planning. So besides the working groups taking it away and looking at that, and also strategic planning taking it away, is there anything else that we'd want the groups to do with this information? We don't want this work to go in vain. We do want to make sure that we have some action items that come from this. So are there any other suggestions with what should be done?
Yeah, I think that this important feedback from the community is shared with the working groups. I think it will help with prioritization or prioritize setting for the upcoming year or the next sort of priorities that we would like to see funded by the City of Toronto. So that's my recommendation. And secondly, I think we should also review that as part of the strategic planning discussions on accomplishments, but also feedback from the community at the stakeholders table.
Hello?
Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, so yes, this and a few other things should be available for May 23rd. So I'm putting this into the document, and we'll have to have that available so that people will have the previous discussions, both that and the previous things that have come up as issues. That will all be available when people are there on the 23rd. I also have something about the terms of reference that you were mentioning earlier, which is that the terms of reference that had been approved is quite old now. So our current intentions on voting and consensus and who participates are sort of different than what it actually says in the 2-year-old version. So that's why there was some confusion, because I think we tried to kind of do it the way we put in the draft version, but it hadn't actually been approved yet. So if you look at the approved version, it's totally different from that. So just to say that that'll all get resolved once we have a new approved version, but that's one of the reasons. And the other thing is that I'm not sure what version was actually shown to people at the meeting, because I can never see the screen. But we do have a version that includes the consensus process as well as voting, and I think that's the one we should be using. I mean, obviously, after it's updated for whatever comes in the new terms of reference, but I believe that that can all be straightened out once it's completed.
Waleed, I believe Adonis has his hand up.
You go ahead, Adonis.
Yeah, I agree that the what we did should be shared with the working groups. However, I would say that and I would say, Michael, that we should go back to the strategic planning committee about, I know we said we would share the achievements, but sharing this document here to me doesn't make a lot of sense. I would rather just have the list of achievements and just work from there. This was more of awareness gathering in terms of making people aware of all the different achievements that the SDP has done and the working committees have done. It's not a scientific way of doing it. For instance, we had 79 people into the stakeholders table, and there should be, if that's the case, there should be 79 responses for each one of those 4 questions. There aren't. So let's not pretend that this is a scientific or represents the whole community. It's just something, a guide for each of the working committees to look at. I would prefer that if we're, as we discussed for the strategic planning committee, to have the list of achievements there and take the discussions from the achievements themselves and not use this document in any way. But that's
well, I mean, this document at least does contain the list of achievements. So, I mean, just as part of the record, it will go in. But if you want me to just pull out just the part that doesn't have the numbers on it, then I can do that as well.
I actually think the numbers are helpful. But I see Adonis wants to speak to this. There's nothing wrong with expressing what support for what initiatives were received at the stakeholders table. It's going to help us. But I agree with the emphasis that it should be focused on the list of accomplishments. Adonis, I saw your hand go up. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is just abbreviation of the list of accomplishments. It's really just abbreviation. So let's decide on what list we should actually bring to for the next week's stakeholders table. I prefer a more comprehensive list of the accomplishments. Remember, we did this because we have so many people and we can't have the whole range of activities that were there. But I prefer a more comprehensive list of the achievements. So that's what I would recommend. But that's something that we could review at our next stakeholders table prior to the meeting. Because I say that because this really doesn't give credit, it doesn't give really the value of the amount of work that we've done. To see this list, there's really 5 or 6 things that each working group has done. And that's not true. Like there's a lot of stuff on that list. So I rather that we use the full list in some way or be able to point to that real list than give this, because this does not tell the story of the SDP. This tells like maybe 15%, in my opinion, having gone through the whole, I've done the whole achievement list of the SDP in terms of the working groups. And believe me, this is just a small sample of the work we have done. So I rather the stakeholders, the strategic planning table looks at the list and decides what they're going to present in terms of the achievements.
Okay. Sorry, folks. Something came at the door.
Oh, hello.
Go ahead, Michael.
Okay. I feel like we're getting stuck here just at the achievements level. I mean, we've already done that at one meeting. We're going to do it at part of the next meeting, but cannot be the whole thing that we talk about as achievements. So I don't want to make it too long a document on that. I mean, if Adonis has another document that contains a longer list, I will get it off of from his office at some point in the next few days. Hopefully we can find some way to present basically all of that if he wants it all presented. But I don't emphasize discussing our achievements as the main purpose of strategic planning. We cannot get bogged down on this one tiny piece of the whole strategic planning process. But I'm perfectly willing to include a longer list if somebody would give it to me.
Okay, sounds good. We'll I guess discuss it in the committee, but Adonis, go ahead.
Yeah, great, Michael. I think it goes back to the committee, Michael, rather than either of us having one opinion or the other. So let's leave it till Tuesday when the committee meets and makes a decision on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Adonis. Back to you, Ismail.
Thank you. I think that is it for the activity. So then we can move on to the next agenda item over here.
So Adonis, yeah, go ahead. And Adonis, just before we get started, is this a recommendation coming from the communications working group? Or is it because Elena had a version of the SDP logo that she wanted to share? I just wanted, I was hoping you could give more context behind the proposal. Thank you.
Okay. So this was a request that went out to the communications long time ago. And to tell you the truth, we have been struggling with what we can do. So it's something that the SDP Communications Table has discussed, but we haven't actually came up with a logo. So this is something that I'm proposing on behalf of Focus. The idea is that we do a lot of activities, but people aren't aware of what activities are actually done by the SDP tables. Sometimes the separate working tables have different identities to their working groups, but nothing on the whole is the SDP. So the idea is to let everybody know, promote more awareness of the SDP by having our logo on SDP endorsed activities, events, and workshops, again, to promote awareness. And that's something that has always been on the communications agenda. This logo that we have is a way of identifying each of the working groups. So the logo is the Regent Park SDP logo is broad, but in it is an image that represents each of the working groups of the SDP. And I think that's unique in that way. So there's, and as the working group priorities change, maybe a working group, we're adding more working groups, maybe we're taking one working group out or replacing them. This would be easy to do within the context of just switching or adding more of these boxes, as you could see. So the green one represents community building. The red one represents safety. And the image that's in there with the hands are actually the image that the safety network uses as well as their separate logo. The flower with the dollar sign represents the economic development group. And the speaker, the orange represents the communications. So that's the idea. It's very simple. It's they're different colors to be used on different. So if you're doing a black and white poster, you use a black and white one. If you're doing a color poster, you could use either the black on white background or the white on the white on black background. So that's the idea. Again, I would like it to be adopted by the planning committee and each of the working groups. So we did send it down to all the chairs, I believe, Ismail, am I correct? So all the chairs have seen this. I've gotten feedback by at least one of the chairs. Open to discussion. And if there's another logo, please, welcome to have that as well.
Yeah, so I think the best thing, because this is a proposal from Regent Park Focus, I think it would be appropriate for the proposal to come from the communications working group after vetting all versions of the logo. I like this logo. I saw a version that Elena shared with me. There was one that we also used in the past that had the photo of this safety walk, the young people and the safety walk we use that at community building and other iterations and other working groups. So maybe we could consider all of them and just make one recommendation that will come to planning committee. Because what I'm concerned about is if one resident, like what prohibits one resident from just coming up with a logo and bring it forward to planning committee for approval, right? Or one stakeholder. So I think a collective recommendation from the communications working group will be the best way. So I'm not, from what I heard so far, I don't think that step was taken. This is just coming directly from Regent Park Focus, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Adonis. So I just want just to share that perspective, but we have Gail, Ines, and then Adonis back on. Michael, you want to be on the list? I'll add you to the list as well. Okay, so we'll start off with Gail. Go ahead.
Hey, so definitely great work, Adonis. I actually like the concept, so thanks for explaining the concept. If I would say anything, certainly we can maybe get some direction around type of font use because fonts are used for communication. Same thing as the icons and the colors, right? So green means money. So does that go with EED? Right? So what are the colors that represent those feelings? That could be a way of making an adjustment if you need to. I think if there's another logo that someone has designed, that they should also present that here and we can, again, have some discussion around it. So I don't think it has to come from communication. And think about it in this way. We are all residents of the community. I may be walking down the street and I see something and I want to provide my help, my thoughts, my whatever reflections on it. I don't need to go to a specific group and say, can you come with me so I can present, right? But it's almost like, saying to the community, and again, similar to what we did with Out Loud, is anybody interested in creating a logo for us? And the kids at the school said, yeah, we'd love to do that, right? So I think we want to open up and allow people if, maybe it becomes a contest if you think that this isn't good enough or whatever we all decide collectively. Maybe we can think about, do we want to open that up? Because again, that's another way of including the community in the work that we're doing. Because again, one of the pieces of feedback we hear is community is not involved, right? Whether we agree with that comment or not, we still hear it. And so this is another way that we could think about engaging. We also talk a lot about youth. Maybe it's the youth that you're going out there and say, hey, would you like to create a logo for us, create a competition around that? Adonis works with the youth, so I'm sure they were probably part of helping to create this as well. So, but for me, great work, great initiative, and great to see that type of initiative anyways.
Thank you, Gail.
Those are
And
my comments.
thank you, Gail. And I like the idea you proposed about engaging the community on a broader basis. That's a really important point. We've got Ines next and then Adonis.
Sorry, go to the next person, please. I'll be back.
Okay, Adonis, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I love all those ideas in terms of having a community, having a competition or something, but the the issue is that events have been going on for four years, and we haven't done it for 4 years, right? And it could be changed. Obviously, it could be changed anytime, right? But events happen like all the time. Working groups happen all the time. Events are going to happen. We need to get something out there now to make people aware of in my opinion, what the SDP is all. I would say a better process would be just to work with the working groups around their boxes on these. And if they want to change the boxes in terms of what images or the colors, happy to work on that to get something out there that's quickly. In the meantime, we're happy to do some kind of competition if you want to do it, but we know how long a process takes in terms of community decisions and everything. And by that time, there will be 6 or 7 events that happen. Again, I think it's really crucial that we let the community know about the SDP, about the events that we're doing, promote awareness of the SDP. I think it's really crucial that we do it at this time. So that's my opinion. Again, I'm happy to consider anything. I don't have an investment in this logo or any other logo. My point is that people don't really know what events the SDP does. They don't know who the SDP is. They know certain events that happen, like Sunday in the Park, but they don't realize that that's planned by the Regent Park SDP. They don't realize that's that the Black History Month was planned in partnership with the SDP, right? And we need to do this awareness. That's all I'm saying. And if we could work with the working groups around their specific box, or if there's any changes in text, happy to do that. But the sooner we get something, even if changes in a couple months, that's fine. But the sooner we get this out, to me, the better. Because the events
Ado-
happen anyways.
Yeah, Adonis, so your proposal is to approve this on a temporary basis until we come up with a process of community engagement that will inform the design of the SDP logo. But for now, this will be a filler because of the events that are happening, right? That's what I'm taking away.
That's my
Correct?
proposal.
Okay, very good proposal. Michael, next, and then we'll,
But also
Okay.
Ines, are you
consultation with the working groups. If the working groups
consultation
want
with
to
the working
change their logo or whatever, that's fine. Their image, I'm okay with that.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you for that, for clarity on your proposal. So we have Michael next, and then Ines, whenever you're back, please just let us know and we'll go to you
I'm back.
next. Okay, why don't you go
Um,
first and then we'll go to Michael. Go ahead, Ines.
Okay, so my thing is with this logo, this is the first time it's coming to the SDP planning.
Yeah.
So how are we supposed to do a vote or consensus when it's the first time? I understand communication did it. Shouldn't it had involved the SDP planning committee regarding about this logo? I mean, it's nice, but I think it should have been more involvement with the SDP. And even having right now a vote or a consensus. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it right now because it's brought up just right now. So I don't know, like I know you
Short
send it to
notice.
the co-chairs and stuff, but at the end of the day, since the SDP planning people have been coming consistently, I think it should have been brought up and showed to what do you guys think, or how do we go, or is there any changes, or all that stuff, right? Because the same way other stuff is being brought to the committee and say, hey, we need your opinion. Why wasn't this brought up and say, hey, we need your opinion. How do we go about this? How should we do this? Is this okay or is this not okay? So yeah, that's my opinion right now.
Thank you, Ines, for sharing your opinion. Just for clarity, Ines, this proposal was brought forward by Regent Park Focus, but it was discussed in the by the planning committee in the past. It was an idea that was shared by folks like Denise from CSI back in the day about branding and a logo for the SDP. We did briefly talk about engagement with the broader community, but the current proposal, from what I understood in the discussion so far, is that this will be a temporary logo while we engage the broader community and the working groups on maybe through a competition, right? Engaging youth, engaging members of the community to learn more about the SDP through this competition for a new SDP for an SDP logo, right? Beyond this current version. So
No, sorry, Waleed, I understand that. But the thing is, even with this was brought up a while back, but now with SDP being refreshed and not enough residents sitting, so I don't think that there should be right now a consensus or a vote because there's less people coming into the SDP planning or in the committees. I'm just expressing myself, guys. It's
no,
like
I get it. I get your point.
hello?
it's
Okay,
not
so
enough people sitting.
have
So
my
for me, it's like I don't know. Like I don't know.
okay, so we have Michael next, but Ines, your point has been heard very clearly. You're like broad engagement with the community before we approve any logo, and this is the first time you've seen this logo today, right? So that point is very clear to me. We've now got Michael next, then Adonis, then Miguel. Michael, go ahead.
Okay, so um, there had been previous discussion of having, I mean, I don't even like the word logo or branding. I just call it a graphic, like to sort of not like overstate what we're doing here. So there had been previous discussion of having a logo or graphic, but it was in the context of that there would be some sort of process. I mean, I realize that some people can become impatient and say, "But we don't have one," and therefore just bring one forward. But if they're impatient, they should have started that process earlier rather than just brought forward a final result because it had taken so long. And what had taken so long is that we never actually implemented that process that we all thought was going to happen before there was going to be a logo. Personally, I prefer the other one with the picture. And I mean, the symbols on the logo, if it is going to be a symbolic one, they affect the whole SDP. So it's not like, well, let's just let each working group decide. And I mean, that's one way to do it, but I mean, there is more to a logo than that. It's supposed to represent the whole thing. So it's not ideal to just say, well, we'll give each working group a little square on the logo, and that's how we'll make a logo. I mean, you can do it that way, but it's not ideal. It would have been better if we actually did a process. And to me, the process is not about voting or, which one do people prefer. It's about, actually listening to each other and not being impatient with what other people say. I can live with this logo if that's what people want, but I'd much rather have the other one, the one with the circle, the round picture in it. That's the one I like. I don't really like all the symbols on this one, but they're not bad enough that I would object to it. But I don't think we should just have somebody bring something forward. I think we should have, if we were worried about how long this was taking, we should have actually started that process that we'd agreed to.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. So you like another version of the logo. You don't mind this version. You emphasize process. So your points are taken. We're now going to the next speaker. So we've got Adonis, Gail, Marshida, and then Miguel. Adonis, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know which logo you're talking about, Michael, because I'm not aware SDP had a logo. If they did, I wouldn't have started this one. So if people are already happy with what we got, let's withdraw this. I'm just saying use a logo that represents a Regent Park SDP. Right now, as far as I know, we don't have one. And I see posters going out all the time. So maybe it's just me, but I don't believe we have one. And again, I think a process, as terms of the process was, get feedback. This is the first time bringing it here, is to get people's feedback. I've heard about changing the text and to go to the working groups themselves to look at their images inside. I thought it was a unique idea that each working group has an image and could give me feedback about the colors that they want. But if that's not a process that people want, if we could certainly, again, I'm saying that these events are happening now. Letters are going out on behalf of the Regent Park SDP now, and we have nothing that I'm aware of. So it would be great to have something, even if it's temporary. Okay, that's all I have to say. Again, not an investment. I'm not invested in this. I'm happy to leave it another year if that's what people want. Or 6 months, or 3 months, or 2 months. I'm fine.
Okay, thank you, Adonis, for your work on this. Okay, so because it was referenced by Michael to another logo, Ismail, if you don't mind, please share that version so that people are on the same page. So this is the one that was previously used temporarily. So that's the round logo with I love Regent Park. And then it says Regent Park Social Development Plan, Stakeholders, Social Development Plan, Stakeholders Table. And then the website, regentparksocial.org/SDP, for those who cannot see it. Okay, thanks so much. We're gonna go to Gail, then Marshida, then Miguel, then Elena, try to build consensus. I did hear one opposition from Ines on approval of a temporary logo for now. So Gail, go ahead.
Yeah, so we had, well, a little bit of history. We were given a proposal and by a communication specialist, so that is their career pathing, that's their actual business. And complaint was it cost too much. We also have a logo and a whatever we're calling this. I don't know if it's a logo that was created by someone and is being used by community building, I think. But we're saying now this is the STP's current logo. So if we go in the vein of the conversations we are having about approval, who approved this one? Because we're using this, if it was approved, I wasn't aware, but now we're saying we have an approved logo and, or we're using one that's not approved, but we should go ahead now and do an approval process, right? So there's a bit of um, inequity with these two processes. It's almost like if it's one person, it's good, but if someone else is raising it, oh, you need a process. Yeah, the logo is your way of communicating something about your organization, and people should be able to look at it and say, oh, I get it, or oh, I want to know more. And so when I look at the one that Adonis gave, that that gives me some very clear information. I can say, oh, there's these four things. What do those icons mean? Right? So that's obviously my reason for why I like that. But what I'm really indicating is that we didn't want to pay initially from a subject matter expert, somebody who's this is their business. We're now using something that was not approved, and now we're asking for approval for this one. So those are three things that I'm hearing happening, and that makes it uncomfortable for folks to maybe now people will say, yeah, I don't want to bring anything forward because when you do, this is the pushback you get, right? So just to be mindful, be mindful.
Thank you, Gail. Next, we have Marshida, then Miguel, then Elena. Go ahead, Marshida.
Thank you. I honestly, yes, the previous logos, honestly, I don't know who got approved. This was there, and then, which is great. I really want some logos happening within the SDP, so that way everybody knows this is SDP meeting, and then it's done through the SDP, which is great. I think he's just, Donis, you just did it, and you just coming here to ask permission. Like, you just, hey, give me your opinion, whatever opinion. Maybe we could send it to the working groups just to see if they like it, if they want different icon. But not every icon can be recognized by the people, in my opinion. Because they might have to kind of search through like what does that symbolic mean. So maybe I just a bit like, I don't know how we can able to put some wording in there just to recognize those iconic, but I do like it. It represents the four item of it, and the four item of the SDP group, which is great. I really like it, the black and white and the color, like a people that who's color impaired. This is great. But if it's just a temporary logo, I mean, I say this is more professional. I will go with this. Compared to the one with the people. I don't know if you guys have permission to use that, especially all the images with the people, and you do need to get that permission to order to do it. I do, as a person that I live in the community, and there's some people are not happy with that images. Anyways, but if it's just a process, I'm like, maybe this meeting, we're just looking at it. We're sending out to the community, the other community groups, and then getting that valid, approval. Maybe we can use it in the future if it's something that's happening. But I
Excellent.
do like this logo.
Excellent. So Marshida likes this logo. Just to answer your questions, Marshida, I took that photo and it's been used by the SDP in various ways. We had a community building logo that was inspired by that photo, and that's where the iteration came from. So I just want to let folks know, and everyone has my
No.
permission.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
complaining. I appreciate it, but then again, I wish it was approved by the community. You know, if you're
Exactly.
getting
It
approval
was
from
not. It was not
everybody,
approved.
I wish it
It was
was,
not
yeah.
approved by the planning committee. You're 100% correct. That's those are the facts. So we now have a proposal by Adonis to approve this logo on a temporary basis while we come up with a process to engage the broader community on an SDP logo, right? So that's what we have ahead of us. So if we approve this logo, that's what we're going to be using moving forward until we have um, uh, the, the outcome of the community process for a final logo. Okay, so just for clarity. So we're now going to move it to Miguel, Elena, and Michael. I'll add you back to the list. Go ahead, Miguel.
Yes, personally, I am not offended that this logo is out there. I have no inconvenience. I want to bring back a little bit of um, uh, uh, memory to this controversy. On February of this year, the Regent Park Safety Network organized an event, and there was a logo that you just show us in the there was the object of controversy. All of a sudden, the messenger who presented this logo got criticized for for putting on the flyer of the Regent Park Safety Network. I remember that day very clearly. The same is happening today, and this is a different logo, and the same members are not happy with it. So I would agree with uh, Adonis. Why don't we just put it back on the shelf cabinet, the idea, and perhaps those who are not happy with this logo, they can get together and think about how they can recreate a logo that is acceptable by each group. That will be my first request, because it's not the logo, my friends, it's who presented logo, who is the person who is bringing the idea forward, who receives the criticism. And in this case, in February, Walied, you were criticized for bringing the logo forward to add to the flyer of the Regent Park Safety Network. And I couldn't believe it, that people would take such offense, such a big offense, that this logo was a temporary issue for the purpose of communicating with the rest of the community. So that is my 2 cents, and that is what I had to say. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Miguel. Just as a reminder, it's a collective decision. No one has a veto over other residents. We try to build consensus. So let's be mindful of that. We need to work together to build consensus. And I think we've identified that we need a process, but the current proposal, and thank you for clarity on the chat, Adonis, is that to seek more feedback from the working groups around their colors and image, but this is a temporary logo that the Regent Park Focus would like to put forward to the planning committee. So that's the proposal. And I'm paying attention to the conversation. We have one member of the planning committee who's not happy with we're just approving it very quickly. So maybe getting feedback from the other working groups will help with that. There is a need for an SDP logo right now due to the upcoming events and communications that we're going to be having with regards to the SDP. So let's all be mindful of that. I am personally, I'm not, although I like the other logo, I'm not very invested in stopping our branding exercise when it comes to the SDP logo moving forward. So I think if, there's consensus over one version of the logos, let's go with that. Okay. So we've got Elena, and then Michael. Oh, no, Michael first. Sorry, Michael first, then Elena, and then we'll try to build consensus on this item. even if it's a referral to the working groups, okay? But I'll go around and ask folks one more last time whether they support the current proposal by Adonis on behalf of Regent Park Focus. So Elena, go ahead. So Michael, go first, and then Elena. And Miguel, if you want to speak up on the list. Go ahead.
So if the goal, I don't know, am I on?
Yes, you're on. Go ahead.
Okay, so if the goal is to have a temporary logo, I would personally rather prefer the one with the picture. Maybe the faces could be blurred or something like that, but I still think that picture can be used. I would prefer that one. I'm gonna take a copy of that and blur the faces anyways, just so it's usable in other circumstances. In any case, so that will be available. But I would rather I'd prefer that one. So if the goal is to have a temporary one, but I mean I won't object to either one at this point. But I don't know why this conversation is so bypassing the other one, but because I would have put that one first. But okay, I will still go with either one. But I mean my preference is more towards that one.
Okay, Michael, we know your preference is more towards the other version. Okay, so we've got Elena, then Miguel.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks a lot, everybody. It was a really interesting and hot discussion that I never thought about the logo. It's going on. Always, as a personal, myself, I am open, for the discussion. I am open, for the suggestion. And as the girl said, of course, it should be the equity. And as Morshida said, it should be, given the opportunity to all the, people of the community. And of course, we love, to see the interesting things because the logo is the prestige and representative of the who we are exactly. So it should be a little bit eye-catching, meaningful. Even by looking at the logo, people should understand that what the SDP is doing actually. So if there is an interpretation for the logo, so that logo is not serving the purpose to make people understand for the actual things that we are going to do. Now, the reason that I designed, because first of all, these design means already designed, they are good. I'm not putting any, objection on them, but to me as a person, they are not eye-catching. I am a little bit different, I have a different perspective, towards the logo. The logo should has the highly impact, I can say, feeling and understanding to the community. When you look at the logo, the prestige, it should goes up. The quality of your work, it should goes up. So logo is showing your work quality actually. If it is too simple, the people get your work as a very simple or maybe the lower level of the job and doing the works. And if it is high, they get the better understanding that this community is in the high level of the projection of the quality of the work. That was a reason that I decided, personally to make it. And I feel we have to be open that people participate for the, providing a different type of a logo. And then definitely the committee, decide which logo is the best, but it should not be on some certain competition, portion that is creating, really time consuming effort. Maybe it's not necessary that much, but the few people who are really interested to give some idea, we have to be open for that. So I would like, right now to share mine. And I'm just, going to share my, cannot start. Okay, all right. Okay, I'm not able, to share.
So Elena, would you like to share another version of the logo? Okay, so Ismail,
Yes.
do you mind just giving her
Yeah.
co-host status to share that? So at least we get to see it. And then we'll go to Miguel and Ines.
Yeah.
So stop sharing screen and Elena, you will be able to share yours.
Oh, yes, here we go. And then I'm just opening mine. This is a logo. I hope, everybody can see that. This is a logo that I have made it, and there are a reason for the different colors. I'm just going explain from the bottom to top. The bottom, it shows the different people in a different colors, and it shows the diverse community. The diverse community that they have the back of each other, and they have the hands of each other. All their hand of the community is just getting to the one hand that is collect the whole community hearts, the whole community efforts for the betterment of that community, which is the Regent Park, definitely. Above that, there is a heart and the house. The house is a community itself. The heart is a heart of a people that they are working for that community. Beside the house and the back of the house, there are wings of the dove that it shows the objective of the community and the people who are working really for that community to give to their objectives. Under the house, which we are supporting, is the gun violence really stop. That's a stop sign for the gun violences. And under that is the budgeting. The budget, I put it deliberately in the red color because always there are a little bit of the issue about the budgeting, how to spend the budget, how much budgeting we have. So I did not put the green one as the really, monetary aspect, but they have to know always there are a little bit of the difficulties in the budgeting to achieve, our goals. And of course, on the top, there is a, Regent Park SDP. That's just a, name that everybody knows. Under that, the Regent Park SDP, what is happening and what is going on. That is just a suggestion, but still as a person, I am open, to other opinion. I am not very hard and tough, to put, only my idea. But I believe it should be a little bit eye-catching and it should represent the whole community as what they are doing and how effective that work it is. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all for listening.
No worries. Thank you so much for putting so much energy and effort into this. I know
you're welcome.
You're volunteering, so we really do appreciate you putting that proposal of a logo together. So
you're
we
welcome.
have, thank you. We now have Miguel, then Ines, and then I'm gonna do my last an attempt to build consensus and maybe figure a way forward. Okay, so Miguel first, then Ines.
So having a logo is a matter of controversy in this community because people will not be happy until they have exhausted all venues to make sure that this project is liked by everybody. We know we have a divided community. Let's put it this. Let's be honest with each other. Whatever proposal will not be this, it will be criticized. It will be put down. It is because of the messenger. In this case, it's you, Walied. I will advise you that if perhaps Elena can take over this task of creating the logo. I'm impressed at her skills of media work. So perhaps why don't you just step back and let Elena take care of this? Because my friend, they're gonna shut you down again, like last February 9. Thank you. That's all I had to say.
Okay, thanks, Miguel. We're gonna try to build consensus after Ines speaks. So go ahead, Ines.
This is to Adonis. Adonis, and your logo, the other one, the Regent Park. Is it possible to put social development plan in full wording, because not everybody knows about I mean, some people are new in SDP. Adonis?
Adonis?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. We could
Like,
do
I mean,
that.
only, sorry to interrupt. So, even just on top, like this full social development plan, and then the rest, it could just say SDP, if that's possible.
Yeah, I think any changes could be made for sure. We could go back to I think what people are asking, yeah, I'm getting your feedback. If you want us to go back to the drawing board, that's fine too. If there's another image that you prefer us working with, I Yeah, I'm happy to do whatever people think.
Okay.
But certainly
So
there's room, it could be Regent Park SDP on top and then room for social development plan. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Adonis is willing to make that change. Thank you, Ines, for that recommendation. We'll go next to Marshida, and then we'll try to build consensus on a way forward. Go ahead, Marshida.
I'm just wondering, Adonis, on this black thing. Remember, I said though, if you could put the wording of all those icon, if you could put in there, like, communication, community building, something, just people that know that this is what the icon mean. I don't know. I think it makes sense to me. People will recognize this is for working group logos.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could, as I was looking at it and thinking of it, that's the only thing I came up with. If that can happen, that'd be nice.
That might be a little too complex, but I like the idea that if working groups have their own logo, that the images that they're using to integrate their logo into these colors are like, safety is a good example. Safety has a logo and they're using hands. So we just took their piece and put it hands. So hopefully people will associate those two things.
To be honest, instead of having each and every single logo, it will complicate the things. And having this one logo is amazing. I love the idea of it, and it just represents everything, right? Like as a whole, it represents it, which is I love it. It just like I'm thinking it's some people might have that understanding of that icon that they won't understand the meaning. That's the only thing I'm thinking in my head. But as long as people have the better understanding, I guess it shouldn't be an issue.
Sounds good.
I mean, yeah, but anyway, for me, yeah, it's very clear and straightforward, and I like it. And the other logo, and thanks for the work, Elena. It's a great work, but um, as a person, I would not put some certain images in there because it might kind of target people. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. But it's a great work. But this is more simple and straightforward understanding. I like this one better.
Sounds good. Okay, so folks, this has been a very robust conversation, like very, very wonderful conversation. We've shared our ideas on the logos. Here's the proposal I'm going to put forward. Why don't Ishmael? I see in the chat you received a copy of Elena's logo as well as part of the notes. Why don't we share all these logos with the co-chairs of the working groups and encourage them to bring it up at their meeting to provide feedback on which ones they prefer. And then hopefully we'll be able to build support for one logo through consensus or buy-in based on the feedback. We don't have certain co-chairs at this meeting, and we don't have certain members of the planning committee at this meeting. And this is an important decision. So what I would like to recommend is if we don't have consensus today on this logo, that we share it with all the logos, not just one logo, all the logos with the co-chairs, ask them to solicit input from their members, and at a future planning committee decide on the logo. So this will be put on the parking lot for approval. I don't want to just push for a decision when some of us are not comfortable with making a decision today, especially if they've seen the logos for the first time today. So I'm going to ask Adonis what his thoughts about that proposal and how best we could proceed. Thank you.
I think we should proceed by basically asking the whole community, letting them know that we are considering logos for the SDP. And if anyone has ideas, to please submit them to the communications table and get feedback so that we are open to receiving any logos or any ideas that come from, and then we could bring it back, all those logo ideas back to the planning table to try to come to some kind of agreement as to what a logo could look like. I think that might be a best way to go forward at this point. And we could put a certain date by for that. So if all logos come within the next month or so, or like 30 days from now, give people opportunity. And that the planning committee will be looking at logos, and that might be a better way to do it.
Okay. So that's the proposal by Adonis, and I support that proposal. Michael, go ahead.
Okay, just like more suggestions. It's not opposition to what you're saying, just suggestions. So when people look at these logos, I think that they're mostly trying to decide what the major graphic images are. So things like the wording and stuff, whether it says SDP or Social Development Plan, like that can go on any of the logos, right? So that's not a decision-making item between them. So the decision-making item between them is more about the graphics, and then like once we know what the graphics are, then we can adjust the wording accordingly. So like don't get stuck up on like, oh, but I like this one because it says Social Development Plan, because that could be put into any of them, right? So that's just a suggestion on how to think about this. Just a couple other, just a couple of questions. First of all, can you just clarify for me who it was who had the one with the house and the heart?
That
I
was
was hearing
Elena.
somebody was describing one. Who was that?
Yeah, that was Elena.
Elena, okay. And the other point, oh, right. So I'm not sure exactly what the sequence would be by which the stuff comes, whether it's going to communication or whatever, but I'm still unclear. Do I have to attend a communication meeting to see them, or will they hold some more public announcement that they've received them and let people see them? Like, just it doesn't have to be settled right now, but just so we know at some point, like, you know, how we participate in this.
Yeah. So, Michael, the proposal is, I'll say it one more time for everyone's sake. Is that the communications working group will invite members of the community to provide draft logos or design logos for consideration of the planning committee. And the deadline will be 30 days from now, so a month from now. And then we will try to build consensus on a logo at a future planning committee meeting. That way, the logo that Elena shared today, the logo that Regent Park Focus put together, the logo of other folks will be considered so that there's buy-in for the logo, and so that folks' voices are heard and their opinions are considered before approval. So that's the current proposal. Do you understand that, Michael? And maybe there will be a communications working group where you will be invited to attend. I'm not sure. I'll leave that to the communications working group to decide.
Our working groups are always open to everybody, so anyone's more than welcome. And the other thing is, yeah, all the will be shared. We're not gonna make a decision. Any logo that comes to us will be brought back to the planning table.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, folks, so we have a way forward. Thank you so much, Adonis, for amending your proposal. And I think we built consensus on a process by which we will select our SDP logo. Ismail, do you mind sharing the next agenda item, please? Okay, so this is regarding the strat planning, what to expect and what is next. So I'm going to ask members of the strategic planning committee to lead these conversations. Who would like to start us off? So this is a report back from the strategic planning committee. Michael, you want to start us off? Adonis is here. I'm here. Dini unfortunately couldn't attend, and others, but we can probably provide a quick report back. Do you want to start us off?
There's a few things we're working on. Some of them are sort of more procedural, like we're going to be discussing how to contact youth and whether or not it's possible to have a large community meeting. You know, who would fund it if funding is needed, that kind of thing. So we're going to discuss those at a sort of procedural level, and that takes place, those kinds of discussions, at the Tuesday meetings. And then the more content-oriented discussions will take place on the Thursday meetings. So the next one is the 23rd at 5 o'clock. So for the next two meetings, the 23rd and the June 6th, we're going to be talking about the working groups. And there's a list of about 10 questions, and they're sort of broadly divided into three categories. Review of the accomplishments, what are the current issues and external events that affect us, and what do we propose be the major direction and priorities for the future. And under each of those, there are several questions. And we discussed earlier in this meeting how we have to bring forward some of the prior material to be available for people to see during these discussions. And we'll have to come up with a balance between like too much or too little, or what's really needed on each particular day. But the idea is that basically it's spread over 2 days because there are quite a few questions. But the suggestion is that I would suggest that on each day we spend half an hour on each working group. And as far as we get through the questions for each working group, we pick up at the next day at that point. So I didn't want to suggest that we divide the days by one working group on one day and another on another day, because people will come to the meeting without knowing which working group it is, and they'll expect to have a chance to talk about each working group. So what would basically, I think the best way to get through the agenda is to go through each working group on each day, and whatever point we get to on the first day, when we get back to that same working group on the second day, we just pick up at that point and continue. That gives everybody the maximum opportunity, whichever working group they're primarily interested in. They won't miss it. So I would strongly suggest that we do it that way, but in any case, the list of questions is available. I don't know if it's fully gone out yet, but if we need to look at it today, I suppose we can, but it may have already gone out. So, but we can still look at it if you want to.
Yeah, we have 10 minutes, and we need to show the letter at the end of this meeting. So I don't think we have time to get into that depth, but I do want to encourage folks to attend the strategic planning working committee if they would like to dig deeper. Adonis, go ahead, and then we'll move on to the next item.
Yeah, so I guess I really want to emphasize that it's really important that the working group members and the co-chairs attend the next two meetings. This will be essentially generally the only time that we're going to have a focused discussion on the working groups before we move on to other activities in terms of getting other stakeholders involved and residents of the community engaged. We really want to hear from the working groups. We really want to hear from the co-chairs around what these questions are all about. So it's really super important. And we will be following up with all the co-chairs to try to get them to this meeting, but really making sure that the co-chairs really engage their members to come out to the next two meetings. And then for people, for whatever reasons, can't come out, we're gonna design another survey way of trying to get that information from them as well. So these are really important meetings in terms of the working groups.
Excellent point, Adonis. Does anyone have any questions with regards to the strat planning? Any feedback? Do folks know when the next strat planning meeting is? Do we want to put this in the chat, or Ismail, do you just want to remind everyone? When is the next meeting?
Next week.
From what time to what time? What
So
day?
next week on 5 to 7 on Thursday. So May 23rd, 5 p.m. It's going to be a Zoom meeting, as I understand. So May 23rd at 5 p.m. will be the next strat planning meeting.
Sounds good. And hopefully we'll send a reminder to all the co-chairs to share with the members of their working groups. I'll encourage folks at community building and safety and EED to do so that we get as much participation as possible. Adonis is on top of things. Any other comments on this item? Seeing none. Okay, well, I'm looking at the no one's face, no one's hands up. Okay, no one's saying anything in the chat. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next item. So I'm gonna share the email I got from Cher with regards to the letter. And then remember, a decision has already been made. This is just for information. And a final copy will be shared with those that are interested in getting a copy. Okay, so this is everyone made edits. So these are the edits that Cher made. Document, and Adonis is comfortable with this. So it's to Denise Andrea Campbell, who's the executive director of Social Development, Finance, and Administration. The letter reads, "Dear Ms. Campbell, I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to follow up on the city's announcement on May 29th regarding the contingent release of social development plans based on specific actions. So this stuff was removed. As outlined, the city has committed to, those are the two items that we received by email from Richard. So there's no ambiguity there. However, residents have expressed concerns that this fund's crucial for community development should not be conditional upon these actions, given that protracted delays, nearly a year, in meeting these conditions. On April 25th, the SDP Planning Committee proposed a stakeholders table, immediate release of the City Council approved SDP funds for 2024. During the meeting attended by 76 stakeholders, the proposal received overwhelming support with only 2 votes against and 1 abstention. Given the strong community backing and the urgency of the needs this funds address, we urge the city to expedite the release of the 2024 SDP funds. Timely access to these resources is vital for progressing the priorities and action plan of the Regent Park community. Thank you for your attention to this urgent matter. We look forward to your prompt response and continued support in empowering the Regent Park community." And that's basically it. So that's the letter in its entirety. So I've shared it with folks. Okay. And
Can you just
so
put that back on the screen? There was one comment I had there.
go ahead, 1 second. Which section, Gail? Down? Let me know when to stop. It's a very short letter. That's it. It's about a page.
Yeah, short is better.
We certainly want to put the ask, whatever the ask is first, and then add the rest, because the first part is really a repeat of what the letter they had sent us. So that's just my suggestion, to put the ask first and then continue from there.
The ask is in the bottom, but after providing context. And I'm just sharing what Cher edited, and Adonis was comfortable with it. And I am deferring to the communication specialists.
Yeah, and I'm not comfortable with it. And I'm saying my comment is that we should put the ask first, right? That
So-
if we're sharing it here because you want to give people the opportunity to provide their feedback. So I'm saying I would, you want them to release the funds. That was the vote. I would want to have that first, and you can ask people that are here their comments as well. But I think, get to the point and tell them, look, we want the money. That's why you voted. and then
Mhm.
go into all the rah, which is repeated information. And if I were to sit and I have the greatest relationship with you, I don't know if I would read to the bottom. It's like, oh, them again, right? So get to the point and tell them, look, we want the money. That's what we voted for anyways. Why not tell them that first?
Okay, so that's one suggestion, is to add make the ask first. Any other feedback? Go ahead, Adonis.
Just want to say that's a good suggestion, Gil. Thank you.
Waleed, are we
Yeah.
are we asking them to reply back by a certain day and time?
No.
Can we ask that they reply to us in 5 business days at least?
So you want to put a condition for response?
Yes.
Okay,
Indeed.
I'm seeing Adonis's head shake. No. I don't want to complicate these things, my friend. So please let's because this letter needs to get out tomorrow. So the
Okay.
one suggestion I got, and Miguel, you have a valid point, but will the city listen to that condition? You just got to be practical. What if they don't have a meeting to respond? And what if they say, well, you gave us 5 days and we didn't have time to deliberate, so we didn't send a response, right? So just let's be mindful of that potential outcome.
Okay.
Okay, so Miguel is comfortable with that. So I'm gonna fix it right now so that we could just approve it and move forward. So the first part is the ask. I hope I'm ready to follow up. Announcement. Okay, so what we'll say is we'll put this up here.
Hey, folks, I gotta leave, so I'm heading out. Thank you. It was a great meeting.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye, Adonis.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Donis. Bye.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that, and I'm just gonna fix the rest of it. Gail and other members of the planning committee, are you comfortable with that change, to bringing that up? Yes? Okay, is this the only suggestion I've received so far? I'm assuming there's no other suggestions. Okay, just outlining the decision first. So I'll make sure it's fixed, and I'm gonna send it to both Adonis and Cher for feedback based on the discussions at this planning committee. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So I'm not hearing anyone say anything else. Okay, it's 3 o'clock. Our planning committee is ended on time. That's perfect timing. Thank you so much for your participation and for your feedback on this letter, and also on the SDP logo and on the strategic planning priorities that we've committed to as a planning committee. Okay, thanks everyone, and have a lovely, lovely Thursday. Yeah, looking forward to your participation at next week's meeting on Thursday, where we'll be focusing on the SDP strategic planning, with participation from the working groups and residents who are part of the working group. So please show up. It's at 5 o'clock, 5 to 7. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ismail, but 5 to 7. And is it hybrid or just online?
Just online.
No, Thursday next week, Rabia. Thursday next week, not this week. Okay, and hopefully an email reminder will be sent out so that folks have it in their calendar. Okay, 3:01.
Yeah.
Have a lovely afternoon, everyone. Thank you. And Elena, thank you so much for your passion. I really want to say thank you. Like, that's
Thank you very much for having
we
me.
need more of that. We need more of that. We need more members of the planning committee taking initiative. So thank you for what you did. Okay?
Yeah, anything. It is my pleasure to do something for the community that, all of us are the part of that. And I'm really happy I'm part of all of you. And it was a fantastic, meeting. I enjoyed a lot. It was really good, and see you next week. And all of you have a great weekend also. Those that, we do not meet, tomorrow or the day after, because it's a long weekend. Enjoy your long weekend, and thank you very much. And Ismail, already I have sent a, email that you put it over there. Definitely you receive it. Thank you, Walied. Thank you, everyone.
Elena, check your
Bye-bye.
messages first before you go. Elena,
Yes.
check the chat. It was me, not Miguel.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you very much. Then I write it one. Okay. Thank you for your suggestion. All right. This is here
Sounds
we
good.
go. Yes.
Okay,
thank you.
I gotta fix up this letter real quickly so it goes out for tomorrow. Ishmael, would you after it's shared, could you by tomorrow at noon send it out? I'll tell you who to send it out to, but from the SDP Regent Park Gmail account. Okay, and then you can see the co-chairs. So the co-chairs are myself, Ines, and Gail. Okay, and then take it from there. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, my friends. Have a lovely afternoon.
Yes.
Yes, all of you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please follow us on our social media platform. For more information, you can check out our website.